Oh, man, a decimated Rays team, fresh off being swept by the lowly Cincinnati Reds, putting up a 10 spot in a win over Boston on Monday night. Yandy Diaz providing the spark, going 3 for 3 with 3 ribbies. Oh, my God. And speaking of the Sox, it's time for the takeoff with Jared Carabas.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, dude?
I'm super thirsty today. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Well, you told me you went to your mom's house and had some tacos last night.
Had tacos last night. Yeah, I had 3 tacos.
Damn,
they were
dude.
delicious. Woke up this morning. I've just been pounding liquid ever since. I don't know what's going on.
It's true, folks.
Yeah.
This bottle,
gone.
It's now empty. What happened to your Red Sox last night? You're sitting there mashing tacos with your mom, and you're watching this all unfold. What went wrong?
Pretty much everything. Bad defense, bad bullpen. You got a bad start from Brian Bayo. I don't know, what you want to divvy up the blame pie here, because that's kind of what we're gonna do. I mean, it was a universal failure. I mean, Bayo is not a finished product. This is second big league start. He still has a lot of things that he needs to work on. Number one being command.
Yes.
It's not the stuff. I mean, he's got an electric fastball. It's more or less just being able to command his pitches and be more in the strike zone.
I mean, the offense dug them out of that 5-1 hole, which is great. And then it's another thing to ask him to keep keeping up and keep digging yourself out of those holes. So is command that's the biggest issue with Bayo? Like anything else? Because these 2 starts have not been pretty for him.
Yeah, no, I think it's when you're down 2-0 to hitters, and these are big league hitters, it's hard to battle back against some of these guys, because then you're aiming the ball and you're more middle with some of these professionals. I mean, look at what Yandy did last night. It's crazy, but he'll be fine. He shouldn't even be up here in the first place. He's only up here because he's a depth option.
Yeah, and you got a couple guys who are going to be returning here soon for this series against the Yankees. That's coming up. You got 3 more against the Rays. You got 3 more against the Yankees here, and then you and I and everyone in the studio, we're going to be kicking it in LA for All-Star festivities. But on a scale of 1 to 10, how important are these next 6 games for the Red Sox?
So I wish that this were a 3-game series against Tampa, because now you have to win 3 straight. They have this, the monkey on their back of you can't beat an AL East team. They haven't won a series against an AL East team yet. So now you have to win 3 straight against Tampa to win this one. So it's all right, if you don't win this one, then you have to go into the Yankees series. And now you have to beat the Yankees 2 out of 3 or sweep them to beat an AL East team before the All-Star break. So I wouldn't make too much of it if I know the Red Sox aren't. The team is not doing that, but the media is going to do that. The fans are going to do that. The doubters are going to do that. That they can't beat teams in the AL East, and
because they haven't so far. That's the only reason everyone is doing that.
Sure,
it's because they haven't done it.
Sure, yeah. I also think that they've run into their injuries, whereas the Yankees haven't. The Yankees, the worst thing that they've experienced is a couple of bumps and bruises.
I mean, hell, look at the Rays. The Rays have just been decimated by injuries. So this is a team you should be handling right now.
Yes, yeah. You shouldn't be doing what you did last night. Correct?
No. Evaldi and Garrett Whitlock, though, expected to be back, right, for the team on Friday in the series against New York. And you're going to have Chris Sale, I believe, in the first half of that Sunday game. We'll get in the Sale day here in a second. So that should provide a huge boost for him, right?
Yeah, I think Nate went on Monday in Worcester. I think he threw 3 innings. So I asked, how many pitches are we looking for on Friday from Nate? And somewhere in the 65 pitch region. So yeah, I mean, once you start getting those guys back, that's great. I mean, I would rather have 65 pitches of Evaldi than kick it to an opener like they were running out there for 2 out of the 3 games against, who was that? Toronto? Did they do that against?
Yeah.
They had an opener in 2 different games. So yeah, give me 65 pitches of Nate.
This is the Boston Rays now.
Yeah.
They start doing the opener thing.
Right.
The Rays did the opener thing last night. Speaking of the pitch range, Chris Sale back, baby. He's going to be around 85 pitches tonight. This is going to be his first start of the season. I mean, what feelings are you feeling right now? Are we excited? Are we nervous?
I am cautiously optimistic.
Okay, why is that? Because that one start with Worcester wasn't pretty.
Right. It was 5 walks. He didn't get hit around. He wasn't getting touched up.
But
it
wasn't there some
5
fastball
walks.
command?
Yeah, it was more or less something that they saw with his delivery that I think that they can fix between the last start and his start tonight. We'll see mechanically if it's sound or not. We'll see what he looks like control-wise, but the way that Alex Cora was talking about Chris Sale is what has me excited. But the 5 walks is what makes it cautiously optimistic, is because I know that there's been control issues, but as far as velocity goes, as far as stuff goes, Cora's telling you, like, hey, like, this guy's ready to go. He's legit.
All right, so 2017 to 2018 with the Red Sox here, like 59 starts, 2.56 like ERA, nearly 380 innings pitched. But you look at the past 2 seasons, 2019 and 2021 here, just 34 starts, 11 and 12, 4.12 ERA. So, like, is it just been health for him? Like, can you expect an old Chris Sale, anything close to 2017, 2018 version?
I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle. Yeah, I think those 19, and then even last year, I mean, he hasn't been healthy really since, like, the first half of 2018. Realistically speaking, I mean, it's always been something with him, and it's always been, it's not really minor injuries. It's always been something major that he's trying to either pitch through or overcome. So, I mean, you go out and you get those surgeries that you needed to kind of fix these issues that have been lingering for a few years, and now he's a bit older, so, I mean, you've lost time now. So that's why I'm not saying, like, I don't think we're ever going to see 2017 Chris Sale again, where he's punching out 300 batters.
It's
like,
tougher
that guy's
as you
done.
age, you know?
Absolutely. It's tougher to recover in between starts. It's tougher to recover from all these major surgeries. And you're older now. But
You are.
if you're 97 and you have the Chris Sale wipeout slider, one of the best sliders in baseball history, I still like your chances. And when he came back last year, he was a 2-pitch pitcher.
Yeah.
So whatever results that people didn't love from Chris Sale last year, he was just fastball slider. Now he's fastball slider changeup. You cannot be a 2-pitch pitcher and still be a starter in the American League East. So now that he's throwing that changeup and we like where that changeup's at, I think that we can expect a better version than the Chris Sale that we saw in the second half of last year.
Yeah, a guy who's been an All-Star like plenty of times throughout his career. And speaking of All-Star, I mean, again, we're going to be there in LA, DraftKings, you are, and like all the festivities. I'll be joining you, and we'll be hanging out and getting weird out there. But how about a guy? Is there a guy on the roster, not on the roster, who has a good case to be on a Midsummer Classic roster? Give me like your biggest snub here. Maybe there's more than one.
Yep. Ty France from the Mariners was a big one for me. I was kind of...
We got Steve Buchanan here in studio, who's the biggest Mariners fan on the planet. He agrees with you.
Ty France should absolutely be an all-star, and you know they asked him about it, and he was super cool about it. I mean, that's the thing, is that you have to get out and vote for these players if you're a Mariners fan, and you know I think he had a season to this point where I don't know how he doesn't get in regardless.
Yeah. I mean, he had that wrist injury that kind of hampered him there. I mean, really, 15 doubles, 10 homers, 45 RBI in 74 games this season. I mean, he's got a good slash line, too.
Yeah, and then you got Tommy Edman in St. Louis. That's a guy that statistically he's outperformed everyone at shortstop and second base. Pick one for whatever eligibility he has at either position. Tommy Edman was a pretty big snub for me. And then the last one was my Cy Young pick before the season, Kevin Gausman.
Okay.
I think he's leading all pitchers in the big leagues in wins above replacement, not an all-star. Interesting.
Through 16 starts, Gausman, 2.86 ERA, 100 strikeouts in 88 innings.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting that he's not an all-star.
Okay, so back in LA, like, what are you going to be up to? Can you give us kind of a sneak peek of your game plan for all the fans watching right now who are going to be out there? Can they meet you? Can they hang out?
Do they
what can we expect?
Like, do they want to hang out?
Yeah, everyone wants to hang out with you.
I don't know why.
That's why
I'm
we hired
so
you, because
boring.
you're semi-popular.
I'm so boring. Like, that was crazy. By the way, shout out to all the people that were at Fenway Park over the week. A lot of Yankee fans. A lot of Yankee fans wanted pictures this weekend, which was cool because when they asked for a picture and then they tweet it out, then what you do is you take their Twitter name and then you put that in the search bar with your last name, and then you can see all the things that they've said about you historically. I'm like, you asked me for a picture, but you said this on September 18th, 2018. I saw what you said about me.
Everyone's a keyboard warrior these
crazy.
days, dude. No one's going to say anything bad to you to your face.
No.
Also, I mean, your arms are pretty big.
They're huge. But I think what they were trying to say is, we love to hate you.
Yes.
Good guy, but we hate you because you like the Red Sox. And that's fine.
Okay.
But in LA, We're doing some man on the street stuff with Dallas Braden. He'll be there as well.
That'd be cool.
I think we're going to be doing. I think there might be a live show or a meet and greet in there somewhere because we tried out the doing the live show during the All-Star game thing. Nah, we're never doing that again.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just too difficult?
Yeah, it's just not fun.
All right. Speaking of Yankees fans, I know after the Red Sox were able to split that series, it's on Twitter. The internet remembers you called them a fraud team. So let's wrap this segment up like we do every week. The reason we call it the takeoff is we got to get your hot take. Your hot baseball take for the week.
Yeah, here's my hot take. I got a hot take right now that I want to share with the world. And before we went on the air, I said this might be my favorite hot take that I've ever given in this segment. And I want you to pay attention to this.
Okay, I'm paying attention.
Pay attention. Aaron Boone should be the manager of the year in the American League, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, why?
It takes a real magician to take a bunch of awful, terrible, mediocre players and get them to the best record in baseball. How does he do it? Aaron Boone is the manager of the year because you got a bunch of just average players doing above average things. And, I mean, they couldn't do it in the last 2 games against the Boston Red Sox.
Is this mainly rotation, or are we looking at the lineup?
The whole team.
Whole team is filled with a bunch of average players who are playing above that average.
Pretty much. I mean, that's just how I feel about it. So,
Aaron Judge is not average. You called him the face of baseball
on
this desk last week.
This year.
Yeah.
He's been in the league for half a decade.
You said, forget Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge is the face of baseball.
Yeah, Aaron Judge has been in the league for... By the way, I met Aaron Judge on Friday. Now we're close personal friends. So I can't really say anything bad about him on the show because, I mean... We're kind of best friends now.
Yeah. It's amazing to see how the relationship with you and in this rivalry with the Yankees has developed.
Yeah.
Like this segment alone, like we have built you guys into family.
Sure, yeah. See, the thing about the whole rivalry thing is that like it's only a rivalry when both sides win, and like they haven't won really at all, like, you know, in my life at least. So we're not necessarily threatened by the Yankees, so it's easier for us to be like, hey, you know, you want to be friends? You know, me and Aaron Judge were friends. Like, first of all, he came up to me during batting practice and had the audacity to ask me for a picture, and I was like, bro, I'm working right now. I'm working right now.
Future member of the Red Sox.
So I posed it to him. I was like, Aaron, if you were in the batter's box and I walked up to you in the middle of a game and asked you for a picture, don't you think that'd be a little ridiculous? And he was like, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that perspective. And then he went on about his way. But
all right.
We're cool. We're still cool.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. All right, so Aaron Boone should be manager of the year for this Yankees team, which
for
you have
dragging
a fraud
this
team.
Yes. Yep. Pack of frauds.
All right, we'll see you in LA.
I'll be there.
Street tacos out there. We'll
Do you want to like share rooms?
I have no problem doing that.
Okay. I'll see you in LA.
All right. Thanks, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Love you. Mean it.
Love the show, too.
All right, everyone, hang out because there's another huge event that tees off on Thursday. It's the Open, formerly known as the British Open, and we got a trio of analysts who have a lot of stuff cooking between the ears. They need to share with you some of the best bets coming up right after this quick break. All right, let's do this thing, folks. The Open tees off on Thursday, and guess what? We got another millionaire contest this week. $25 entry, $3 million total prize pool, $1 million to first place, plus a spot in Tournament of Champions semifinal, which I believe there's another chance at $1 million up for grabs. Don't quote me on that. But grab your spot now. We will have a full segment of DFS picks to help you build that money-making lineup. That's going to be tomorrow. But right now, we got to look at some betting lines because we got three of the best on the line with us right now. DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich, Sweet Reed T. Fowler, and Jason Sobel of the Action Network. Jason, I'll start with you here. Jon Rahm, plus 1,600. We all know wins in Mexico in late April, has been favored in a couple of tournaments since then, but does he come through on the major stage this week? Is he worth maybe sprinkling a little something on?
It's a decent number for Rahm. It just feels like there's something a little wrong with his game. We've seen this putter been bulky throughout much of the first 6 months of the year. Now it seems like the ball striking isn't quite there. Look, I always like Rahm. I always think he's got some win equity. He's one of the game's best players. In fact, when Jon Rahm is playing his best golf, and we always have this conversation, when every player is playing their best game, who's the best in the world, I think it's probably right now Rory McIlroy, but Jon Rahm's not far behind. So if Jon Rahm does indeed play his best golf this week, of course, he can win this title. And like I said, it's a pretty good number for him. I think it's the longest odds that he's had at a major championship so far this year, but I'm still not on Rahm. I'm not quite there. I think something's missing just a little bit right now.
All right, Reed, decent enough number here to bet?
Oh, well, you also got to take into account who's around him, right, Emerson? I mean, this is a major tournament, so we have all the top guys here, and you're going to get soft numbers on all of them. And while I agree with Jason and what he's talking about with Rahm, probably a little bit of that is like you mentioned, the putter and the around the green stuff that we've seen kind of not once he made that switch to Callaway, hasn't really set, even though long-term he's one of the best. But I'm looking at Scotty Scheffler at plus 1,400. I know he's 4 points, or excuse me, 2 points less than Jon Rahm, but Scheffler right now, what he's done, winning 4 straight in like what seems to be like 4 weeks in a row back when he won. And now he's in a little slump where he hasn't won for a few months. He also won Augusta National. He won the Masters. And there's a ton of correlation between those two courses of the past winners. So I like Scotty Scheffler a little bit better at plus 1,400.
All right, Jeff, among the big dogs here, what do you think? Because Rahm hasn't had a top 10 in the first 3 majors of this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's gotten to the point where, the number on Jon Rahm is almost big enough that he should just almost become an auto bet. I mean, if he were to get to plus 2,000 this week, I couldn't even really make an argument. The last time, he got to that number, which was around like the Memorial in 2020, he won going away. So Jon Rahm is almost at the point where you should probably just bet him. As Jason said, he may be the best player in golf. It's probably between him and Rory right now, but I prefer, look, it's an Open Championship. This course is going to play, in my opinion, it's probably going to play pretty easy. It's going to be a lower scoring event. It's a links course, so there's tons of luck involved with the draw too. Let's start a little bit bigger. I like Patrick Cantlay and I like Cameron Smith. Cantlay at plus 2,000 isn't quite the value that I'd like, but Cam Smith at plus 2,800. Let's not forget, where did Cam Smith get his first win of the season? It was at an easier course with a bunch of short par 4s, some easier par 5s as well that kind of turned into a putting contest. I think St. Andrews is set up beautifully for a player like Cam Smith, who's great with his wedges, great from around the greens, going to be able to dominate these shorter par 4s. So I'm looking at Cam Smith as, quite frankly, the best value at under plus 3,000 this week. I think plus 2,800, very good for a player who's got 2 wins, got good correlation. He's played well at Augusta. We all know that like a lot of the players play good at Augusta, play good at St. Andrews. I think Cameron Smith at plus 2,800 is where you should be starting.
Well, Jeff, I know you've been a big believer in Jordan Spieth across the pond. He's also sitting at plus 1,600. So how much noise is he poised to make, in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, when you get Jordan Spieth on the links, if we're talking about best links players in the world, Jordan Spieth is probably top 3, if not just the best. I mean, you look at his record in terms of strokes gained at this championship over the last, since 2017, since he won. He's leader of the pack. I mean, you just put Jordan Spieth on the links and he's going to play well. I almost wonder, though, if St. Andrews may just play a little bit too easy for Jordan Spieth. That's my only worry. I do think the top 10 market is a good one for Spieth. I'm not necessarily going to bet him to win at plus 1,600 because I'd just rather bet Cameron Smith, who I think is a very comparable player and, quite frankly, has outperformed Jordan Spieth for much of the season and is at a better number. But Spieth for a top 10, sure, we could get behind that, plus 180. I really don't have a problem. I think that Jordan Spieth too, like from a DFS perspective, just from the perspective of you're getting a really good floor with him because we're on the links. He's playing well. He obviously played well last week. It's fine. He's just not going to make my outright card because the number is just not going to be big enough.
I mean, Jason, he's averaged a whopping 3.38 strokes gained per round at the Open since 2017.
Love him on courses like this where creativity is going to be so important. I mean, we're seeing guys, Rory yesterday during the celebration of champions, putted one from 65 yards away. I mean, you can literally use any club in the bag for pretty much any shot. Jordan Spieth, I think, is the most creative player in the game. I've got him, and I've done a top 50 ranking over at the Action Network. I've got him number 2 on my list. So especially if we're talking about Jon Rahm and Jordan Spieth at the same number, I'm going with Jordan Spieth at plus 1,600. That said, if you're playing them, be prepared to go on the Spieth roller coaster this week. We saw it last week at the Scottish Open. He looks brilliant 1 minute, holding out shots from the fairway, and the next minute he's missing 4-footers for par. So you're going to have to ride that wave. I think the positives are going to outweigh the negatives. I like Jordan Spieth a lot this week, but there are going to be some negatives. There are going to be some times you're shaking your head going, I can't believe I bet on him. What's he doing right now? But he's going to bounce back. He always does. And that creativity on a links golf course like this is going to be so important.
All right, Reed, you got Spieth in any of your articles this week?
No, I don't. Because I think everyone has Spieth in their article because it's so easy to talk about him at links course. I'm like every statistical category, and look, he's won here before, right? And he's just like the prototypical person, that golfer that you want at St. Andrews. If you look at scrambling, right, at St. Andrews in the past winners, like that has been the key statistic that's pointed to success, right? That's proven to be successful. So that's what Jordan Spieth, like he is synonymous with scrambling, right? He gets into trouble and he makes this miraculous shot and he makes birdie when no one else would make bogey. That's what he does, and that's how he gains strokes. But like this guy said, I'm probably going to keep him off the card.
Hey, Jason, what's the best Colin Morikawa bet out there? Because he's plus 3,000 outright. But does anything else stand out to you here, the defending champion?
Boy, doesn't it seem like every time Colin Morikawa comes in with a big number at a major championship, we're like, got to bet him. He's an auto bet. I'm still not sold. Look, he came into the Open Championship last year having only played one event at a links golf course, finished 71st at the Scottish Open, came in last year as a plus 4,500 number, which looked really good, except I crossed him off the list because he didn't have that experience playing links. He figured it out very, very quickly. I'm still not convinced, though, that Colin Morikawa knows how to flight his ball. He's talked about it throughout the last couple of months, that he needs to be able to flight his ball better on certain courses, and this course would be at the top of the list as a place where you might have to hit it high at times, but there are other times you're going to want to keep it really low. I don't know that he's got those 9 windows that we always talk about, something that Justin Thomas has learned from Tiger Woods, hitting into all 9 spaces, hitting a low cut, a high draw. I don't know that Colin Morikawa has every shot. It worked for him last year at Royal St. George's. He's off my card this week, though.
Okay, Reed, I was listening to some of his media availability yesterday, too, and he talked about just how frustratingly inconsistent his game has been this year, particularly his iron play.
Yeah, which is wild because if you look at his iron plays, I mean, it's still like people would kill for his irons even when he's inconsistent, right? A 5th at the U.S. Open, which probably should have been a win if it wasn't for Saturday, like 77. Right, a 5th at Augusta National, 55th at the PGA Championship. But, you know, this guy just hits his iron so well. He comes in and he says, I'm hitting a draw. I don't know why. And then he finishes 5th, right? Like he's basically hitting a shot that he's not used to hitting and he finishes 5th. But we know that his putting is really what constitutes him playing well. And if he can putt well here, I'm not too worried about his irons. I think the best bet on Morikawa is, I mean, obviously a top 5, top 10, but best value, in my opinion, is plus 3,000. You're talking about a guy who won this last year, and he's one of the best young ball strikers that we have in our game.
All right, Jeff, how do you like his chances here to become the first back-to-back winner since Harrington in 08 and 09?
I mean, I don't really like his chances. Like, I don't think the setup is going to be like prime for Morikawa. I think that, again, almost like Jordan Spieth, I think you just need like a little bit of a tougher setup. You know, we saw when he won last year, it was just built around some great scrambling and some really, really solid iron play. But I think that St. Andrews is just going to be a little bit more of a test where it's just going to come down to putting it around the greens. And maybe with his ball flight not being as secure as possible, maybe he can get hauled with the putter. Maybe you should take a stab at plus 3,000, but I think that with him just not being in the greatest form, again, I mentioned Cam Smith at plus 2,800. They're basically the same number. I think you should just take a chance with the guy who is, quite frankly, better around the greens and a better putter than Colin Morikawa at that number. Even though Morikawa is probably the better player longer term, I don't think there's no argument there for me. And also, if you're going to take a shot with a guy going down, why not look at like Hideki, who coming in with a lot of the same issues, but has had success at the Masters, did play last week and missed the cut, but he's just at a bigger number. So Morikawa, it seems strange, but he's almost like he needs to be like around plus 4,000 right now for me. If you're just betting him at plus 3,000, that's fine. Like Reed said, if you're going to bet him, you might as well just bet him to win outright, because we know what his upside is, and that's he can win any event he goes in. I just don't think that he's in top form right now. And there are other top players around this number because it's such a deep field that I'd rather take shots with this week.
All right, Jeff, let's talk about some of those top players here, because speaking of Morikawa and Spieth, you can place a bet on best finish for a former winner. So Rory McIlroy right now in the DK Sportsbook is the favorite in that category at plus 200. Is there another bet in this group that you like, though, Jeff?
Oh, there's definitely another bet that I like in this group, Emerson. Yeah, where are we playing this week? Is it still St. Andrews? Is it?
Yeah.
Isn't the Sultan of St. Andrews in the field this week, Emerson? The guy who's 31 under par at St. Andrews over his last 8 competitive rounds? Yeah, it's Louis Oosthuizen in a plus 800.
God.
How dare they disrespect Usti and put him as the 5th favorite in this field? He should be up there with Rory McIlroy at plus 200. Yes, the value is with Usti. Of course he's going to get himself in the mix. It's St. Andrews. You got to take the value in this one with Usti. Look, Lowry, Spieth, Morikawa, get out of here. Give me Usti at plus 800. That's where the value is.
Oh, man, Jason, I know that you've given Jeff so much crap in the past on this show for betting Usti.
I want to remind Jeff, past performance is not an indicator of future results. I just like to remind you
What's that quote, Jason, about crazy? About like what the definition of insanity? I mean, I bet you now, so
look,
I get it.
He's won here before. I get it. I don't love Louis this week. Quite frankly, guys, when it comes to whether it's the board for past winners at the Open Championship, whether it's low European, whether it's an outright play, I can't get past Rory McIlroy this week. He is my favorite across the board for everything. I get it. He's the favorite. He's playing better than just about everyone else, not named Xander Schauffele right now. But I'm not betting any bet right now that fades Rory McIlroy. He's got so many narratives in his favor right now. Here's a good one for you guys. This is perhaps the biggest celebration in the game's history, which is really intriguing, maybe a little bit ironic, the fact that there's so much tumultuousness in the game of professional golf going on right now, such a fractured separation between the two factions of the PGA Tour and LIV and everything that's going on. But this is the 150th anniversary of the longest running golf tournament in the history of the game. It is, I think, the biggest celebration that we've seen. No hyperbole there. The 50th ever Masters, the biggest anniversary number that we've seen there. 1986, a guy named Jack Nicklaus won that year. Pretty good. 100th U.S. Open Championship was back in 2000, Pebble Beach. I don't know if you guys remember. Tiger Woods won by 15 shots. This is not going to be some dude out of left field who goes out and wins at St. Andrews this week. This is going to be a big-time player. It's going to follow that trend. And Rory's on top of my list. And again, I'm just not fading him in any possible realm this week.
Yeah, that final round 64 at the Masters looks a lot like, something like a cannon that launched him into this great stretch of golf here. Reed, what about like Shane Lowry? Because I feel like that miscut at the U.S. Open was just a small blip on like what's been a fantastic year of golf for him, and he's plus 450 in this category.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably running to the window now to bet Rory after that soliloquy by Jason, and that was awesome. That makes a lot of sense, right? Golf is a lot of folklore, and Rory would just fit that narrative at the 150th. But to your point, Emerson, yeah, Shane Lowry, look what he did at the Irish Open. He made the number, he made the cut on the number, and then he has a fantastic weekend. This is what he does. Like, Shane Lowry is so good around the greens. He knows links golf. I get that, but my guy, it's not Louis Oosthuizen at plus 800. Give me a break, Jeff. This is the only tournament Louis can say he's a former winner of too on the PGA Tour, quote unquote. But it's Patrick Harrington for me at plus 2200. Back-to-back winner at the Open Championship in 07-08. Look at this guy's record at the Alfred Dunhills. I know it's not the same setup, but he's fantastic. And look at what he's done on the DP World Tour this season so far. Multiple top 30s. And I'm not saying that top 30 is going to win you this bet, but at plus 2200, on top of just winning the U.S. Senior Open, again, Not saying that's a correlation to success, but if we know that guys who have played well have won in their previous 5 or 6 events, Padraig Harrington is just sticking around. Like, he's just a guy, like a VJ Singh, just sticking around. Someone who I really like at this course. It can roll a ton here. He doesn't need distance, but Harrington just strikes me as someone who's deep on these lists and deep in the number that could outperform where he's at right now.
I mean,
classic read, Emerson. Makes fun of me for Usti, and then he picks a Champions Tour player to go with. Okay.
Hey, listen.
Champions Tour. You're like Champions Tour, meaning he's won before.
That means he's old, Reed. Okay. That means he's old.
And you know what? The old course gives older guys a chance. Jeff Ulrich, you know that
Emerson.
more than anyone else. All right, quick on this last one, guys. Sobel, who's your pick to win the Open at St. Andrews?
I just gave you all the reasons. It's Rory McIlroy.
Let's go.
It feels so like John Rahm last year before the U.S. Open, where every narrative was in his favor, and we all looked at it before and said, John Rahm's going to win this thing, right? And he went out and did it. I know. I don't like betting favorites. I don't like playing short numbers in the outright market, but it's all Rory McIlroy this week for me.
Sweet Tea.
I'll go with Scotty Scheffler. I think he does. I think he bookends the major tournament with the win at Augusta and a win here.
All right, Jeff Ulrich, bring us home here.
I'll go with my guy, Patrick Cantlay. I really like the lead up that he's had. Multiple top 5 finishes, nice top last 4 starts. Played well last week, just a little bit under the radar, and I think he's got the best number of the top group.
It wasn't too long ago where you said, I'm going to go with my guy, and it was Louis Oosthuizen. So, I don't know.
How the mighty have fallen.
Past champion. Okay.
Maybe you're making progress. No, we're proud of you, Jeff. This is good. This is good.
Right.
You are growing. You are learning. All right, guys. Y'all are awesome. We got a fun new game. What's in the Hat with Steve Buchanan and Garen Thorne coming up right after this. All right, what I have here is a hat, and inside this hat are names. And why am I telling you this? It's because we have a brand new game here to introduce all of you to on the Sweat. It's called What's in the Hat? Steve Buchanan came up with this, and I was like, damn, dude, how did you do this? Because this is a great idea. So, Steve and Gary are here. They're going to take turns drawing names from this hat, then assigning them to one of the 4 categories below. So 1 player per category here. Each analyst has 1 pass. So if you pass on a player, the other analysts must slot that player into one of their categories.
Yep.
We will score each category based on the criteria and keep track of each week's outcome. This is good stuff. Where did this idea come from?
Honestly, I always do my best thinking when I am doing nothing. and I was
That's
doing
amazing,
nothing.
man.
And,
You're like
and it hit me.
Einstein.
Well, you know what? It sounds good on paper. Let's
Yeah.
see how it plays out first.
Okay.
Like, that's the important part.
Awesome. Gary, you ready to roll, dude?
Been waiting my whole life.
Okay.
Sorry, I was kind of lost in Steve's epic explanation of his creative process, so I'm just having to start from square one again here.
Okay, so I'm gonna pick
What
the
a
name out of
jerk.
the hat. Here we go. And here we go. Wait, what did you say, Tom?
Yeah, you got to
Oh,
pick who's
I
going
have to
first.
pick who's gonna go first?
Oh, Garion or me? Yeah.
I'm gonna pick you.
Okay.
Because this is your game. This is your idea.
I mean, it doesn't mean it's a good idea, but
No,
it's
it
an idea.
doesn't. So the first one is Andrew Benintendi here, dude. So
Okay.
what do you want to do? You can put him in the 20-plus fantasy point category, 10-plus, 5-plus, 0, or you can pass.
No, I'm going to take him. I'm going to take Andrew Benintendi.
Right.
He's in a great spot here against the Tigers. Their bullpen's actually been quite good. But Benintendi, believe it or not, I don't know if you know this, Benintendi's actually like one of the hottest trade targets
Yeah, and they're-
for this trade deadline.
Rumored to be
coming
going
up.
to the Yankees a little bit.
Yeah,
Red Sox fans would hate.
That wouldn't be great.
No.
But Benintendi going against the Tigers tonight. Their bullpen has been good, but they're going up against Bo Brisk, I think his name is. That's where we're going to go with there.
Okay.
But struggles against lefties, not great numbers in that spot there. And Benintendi has been stellar too at the plate as of late. Been getting on base. I think his on base percentage is close to 380
Sweet.
at this point. So give me him. I'm going to slot him in the score 10-plus fantasy points
10
tonight.
plus, okay, that's good. All right, Gary, and here we go, dude. Random name out of the hat. Here we go, excellent. Eloy Jimenez, let's go.
So this one's interesting. You know what? I'm going to immediately use my pass here.
What?
Oh!
Make Steve either make him score 15 plus points or 0.
All right, Bukes,
Yeah.
put him in a category.
See, look, my own game is going against me.
I know, it's amazing how Gary knows how to play this
All right,
already.
so I'm going to probably put him in the 0 slot.
Wow.
Not happy about it. Not happy about it. But going up against Pilkington, Pilkington is certainly not somebody that you're afraid to go against by any means. But Jimenez has been pretty up and down as of late. He's been struggling to produce some fantasy points, only 7 or less in 4 of his last 5 games. I'm going to go in the 0 spot here. Not happy about it. Garion already trying to beat me at my own game, but I can't put him up for 15. I can't do that. Nope.
All right, Gary, we're going to go back to you. Chris Sale. Chris Sale,
good.
first start of the season, dude. You know how much he's struggled the past couple years.
You know what? I feel pretty good about this one. I'm going to put Chris Sale in the score more than 10 fantasy points category.
Ooh,
Because
why?
he's probably going to have a pretty decent night. I mean, this is someone who struck out 19 batters across like 11 innings and change in his minor league rehab assignments. Also broke 1 clubhouse. I don't know if we get fantasy points for that, but good stuff. But it's the length of this start that's the concern, obviously. We don't quite know how long he's going to be able to work into this one. So would it shock me if Chris Sale looks pretty good, maybe gives up like 1 or 2 earned runs, strikes out 5 in 4 or 5 innings, finishes with 12, 13 DraftKings points in his first start in quite some time? I think that's probably the territory he falls into. And hey, it's not even that bad a matchup. I mean, the Rays are pretty hot right now offensively, but obviously losing their best bat in Franco a couple days ago, they're not at 100% right now. So I think Sale probably ends up with 10 to 15 fantasy points, so I'll stick him right there.
Okay, great. Let's go next one here. I would definitely be a little nervous.
By the way, did you tell people this is a DK branded hat?
Yeah. And what's kind of cool, too, on the back of these pieces of paper with the names,
Wow.
which this one is Spencer Strider. This is going to be for you here.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking
But
that
yeah,
one.
this is pretty cool. These are legit, dude. I don't know who did this. Was this producer Glennon in the back?
He really put a lot of effort into that.
I know. People are taking your game seriously. What do you got?
Okay, Spencer Strider. I bet Gary would love for me to pass this to him, but I'm not that nice of a person. I'm absolutely taking Strider. He's going in my 20-plus fantasy points one,
What?
going up against the Mets. Strider is suddenly in the talks for Rookie of the Year. I believe he's actually the favorite right now. A little Cy Young chatter there too as well, but I have no issue with him going up against the Mets tonight. Now, I know the Mets were able to handle Max Fried fairly well last night, a bit of a surprise. But something was up with Fried. His command was really off. He wasn't getting any break on his breaking pitches. So I will attest that as more of a Max Fried issue than a Mets issue. But I think this is a great spot for Spencer Strider, who has a K9 coming into tonight, over 13. His strikeout numbers have been unbelievable. Over 10 strikeouts in 3 of his last 5 starts. This is going to be his first time going up the Mets. Haven't seen him face them there, but they're obviously a team that is very good offensively, but also can produce some strikeout numbers too as well. Give me Strider at over 20 fantasy points here tonight.
Okay, high expectations for the kid. Austin Riley here, Gare Bear. Where's he going?
Well, this is interesting because we're running out of position players. So, I mean, logically, I should probably slot him in the 0 fantasy point category because a position player is a lot more likely to get 0 fantasy points than pitcher. But I think this is a fantastic spot for Austin Riley. I am willing to say he's going to score over 15 fantasy points in tonight's game. Riley is probably the hottest hitter in baseball, bar none, right now. He's got a .939 slugging percentage and a WOBA above 600 in his last 12 games. And he gets a left-handed starter tonight in David Peterson. Peterson's been all right in 2022. I don't really have anything negative to say about him, but that left-handedness is really not going to do him any favors tonight against Riley, who has a 196 WRC plus against Southpaws so far this season. So I'm going to take a risk here and put him over 15 DraftKings points.
Okay. You can. So is that allowed in this game? You can put more than one guy in each category. Is because he already has Chris Sale in the 10+
I'd say
fantasy
over 10.
points.
I'd say over 10.
There is a 15. I don't have that here on my form, but okay, that sounds great.
Are we playing with the 5 or the 15? Because the big board says 15.
Okay, I'm seeing 5+, 10+, 20+. This is ridiculous. You guys are changing rules as we go along.
That has been up there since the segment began.
This is unbelievable. I wasn't looking over there in that direction.
You are so nervous about going to L.A. You can't think straight.
No, I can't.
To be fair, I also thought it was 0, 5, 10, 20.
Thank
and then
you.
the big board at the start, you know.
Well, once again, not my fault. We can blame producer
It's like
Tom.
cruise lines in anyways. The rules don't matter.
Okay, no. Here we go. This is the next one. Manny Machado, Bukes. Have at it, kid.
I'm actually passing that. I'm passing that to Gary.
Okay.
Yep.
This is this first and only pass of the game, Gare Bear. Where you putting Machado?
It's a good pass. It's a good pass.
Sounds nervous.
I think I have to keep my 20 slot open for the Glenn Ottos out there. I know that. Ooh, this is tough.
See, this is the strategy part.
I
This
know,
is the strategy.
I know.
You know what? I have to do it. I have to put Machado at 0 fantasy points. It hurts me to do it. It hurts me. He's facing a lefty tonight. He's absolutely crushed lefties this season. He's got a 170 WRC plus. He's facing Austin Gomber, who's been terrible, particularly pitching at Coors Field. So by no means am I promoting not using Manny Machado tonight, but I guess I will be the one sitting in a corner hoping he strikes out 3 times against the Colorado Rockies tonight.
In Coors Field.
Okay, here we go. So this one goes back to Gary, even though you just passed, right? Okay. Austin Slater. Let's go.
See, now we're just in trouble. Now we're in a lot of trouble.
I mean, yeah.
I put him at 20+ fantasy points.
Yes, you do.
Look, I will say this. Slater, there's a real possibility that he gets pinch hit for late in this game, so he's going to have to do his damage early. Thankfully, the guy he has to do that damage off of is Dallas Keuchel. So if there's anybody who could give up 20 DraftKings points to Austin Slater, who's probably going to hit leadoff tonight for the Giants, really good value play at 3K.
Yeah.
Great numbers against lefties so far this season. I think he's going to have a good game. I don't know if he's going to score 20 DraftKings points, but I'm really banking on the Dallas Keuchel effect here.
All right, so this is going to be the last one,
And it's going to be 15.
And there's only
All
one.
right.
There's only one position.
All right.
Okay. Let's go, Glenn Otto.
Okay. No, that's fine. Going up
Is that-
against
is
that's
that good?
fine. Going up against the Oakland Athletics, I mean, he might score 45 if we're being brutally honest here. The issue with Otto, his strikeout numbers has been fine. He's run into some trouble in some of his spots. It's really kind of inflated some of his stats. So I think that's why if you look at his overall numbers, they're not all that attractive. You look at what he's got here, 5.26 ERA, an expected ERA of 5.81. But if you look at some of his more recent ones, just faced Baltimore, only 1 run against them there. Had some good starts against Seattle, the Rays, the Angels. But the Oakland Athletics are not patient. They're going to strike out, and that's what Otto is going to get his numbers here. So going over 15, I think that's a good spot for him. I think he goes over 15, maybe even in the 20 range. If I got him earlier, I would have been in the 20 range. So
Really?
So 15, it's like a gift. I'll take that.
All right, there's 2 more names left, so there's not a 5+ point category then.
No, so there were names that were not going to be picked.
Okay.
That's part of it too.
That-
So you just got to be prepared for anything.
Okay, this game is great. Producer Tom says we got a wrap. Garion, good stuff, dude. Thanks for playing along. We'll see. I guess we'll reconvene next week. We'll see how this all worked out.
We're in LA. We're busy.
Okay, that's actually true. All right, good luck, Garion.
I'll
Thanks,
just
man.
be here by myself talking about it. So.
All right, we got some player futures to discuss around the NFL coming up, our last block of the show. All right, guys, Jeff Rolrick has returned. DraftKings contributor Pierce Dietrich is here. Reed Fowler was supposed to be here, but I guess it's just like he does the open segment and says, I'm out of here, whatever. Let's do some NFL over-under, though, guys. So will these players go over-under their season totals in their respective categories? Now, this segment specifically, we're going to look at player totals for the 2022 NFL season, focusing on guys that led the league in the following categories last year. So let's start with passing yards. So we're looking at Tom Brady here. Last year's leader in this department had north of 5,300 yards. His season total in 2022, Pierce, north of 4,600. So 4,650 and a half. Do you like the over or the under?
You got to hammer the over. If you break this down, it's something like 275 passing yards per game, which he was clearly over last season. You might remember last offseason and earlier in the year where I said, the Tampa Bay is going to be smart. They're going to run the ball. Why drop back 40 times with Tom Brady? He's too old to do that. They absolutely did not listen to me. They were dropping back nonstop, passing from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. Now Todd Bowles takes over. He's a defensive-minded head coach, which means it's basically going to be an offense run by Byron Leftwich and Tom Brady. Tom Brady did not come back out of retirement to hand the ball off, to manage games. He's here to pass and pass and pass. And you also look at Byron Leftwich. He could have had a head coaching job somewhere else, but he wants a number one big-time gig. And the only way that Byron Leftwich is going to get a big-time head coaching job is if he just explodes onto the scene this season. So I don't think Byron Leftwich is going to be conservative at all. I think he's going to show everything that he's got. He's going to try to impress all the owners and GMs around the league so he gets one of these prime jobs next season. Tampa's going to go crazy through the air this season.
All right, Jeff, Pierce says you got to hammer the over. Do you agree?
Pierce just stole like all my lines. You know, I mean, it's like, why did Tom Brady leave New England? He's just sick of just the run schemes there, and he wanted to throw the ball. He didn't come back to just sit on the sidelines and hand the ball to Lenny Fournette 400 times, right? So, yeah, I don't see any scheme change here for Tampa Bay. The number is interesting from this perspective. In 2020, Tom Brady played 16 games, and he actually went under this number in a Bruce Arians offense. And there is some concern here that, that's the only reason you would really be on the under. Tampa plays Atlanta in week 18. There's a very good chance they have like a 3-game lead in this division going into the final week. You may not get that 17th game. If he misses one other game there, you're probably not going to hit this number. But we have to go with the projections. Every projection that you see has Tom Brady for well over this number. And even at 16 games played, I expect him to go well over this number. So it's an interesting one. You're kind of relying on, obviously, a quarterback who, if his arm gets a little bit tired, you could even see him miss 2 games. But you got to go over. You can't take the under in this offense. Nothing's going to change. They're going to throw the ball a ton. Tom Brady plays 16 games. He's going to go well over.
All right, let's go rushing yards. Jonathan Taylor led the league with more than 1,800 yards on the ground last year. His 2022 season total set at 1,450.5. Does he go over or under, and why, Jeff?
I mean, I get it. Like, Jonathan Taylor is the deserving number 1 fantasy pick. He's a fantastic rusher. He's probably the best pure rusher in the NFL. You have to go under this. You look at running backs who took big carries the year before and put like big yardage up. Like, I'm talking 2,000 yards. What do they do the next season? It hurts them. It really does. They all regress. Every single running back who has gone over 2,000 yards or come close to that mark, the next year, they just regress. It is tough taking big workloads in the NFL. There is no way I am taking an over on any running back. The most volatile position in terms of injuries in the NFL at 1,450. Jonathan Taylor, absolutely. I'll give him my vote for best pure rusher in the league, but I'm not taking the over on 1,450. You could also see the Colts throw the ball just a touch more with Matt Ryan there at the helm, but they've talked about that already. They want to get Naheem Hines run in. I don't think Jonathan Taylor gets 330 carries again. I think his carries go down. If he misses even a little bit of time, you're going to struggle to even come close to this number. So it's just a product of the number being a little bit too big, being inflated, and the position.
Yep.
You don't take overs at 1,450. You just don't. I'm going to go under on this one.
I mean, Pierce, the Colts have definitely been pretty vocal about wanting to really get Matt Ryan, new quarterback. There's a lot of work. Take advantage of him as well.
If the Colts are smart, they're not going to take advantage of Matt Ryan. They're going to take advantage of Jonathan Taylor. He's their best player. They need to ride him. I'm going over on this. Taylor 2,000. Let's trademark it. Let's get it on a shirt. 2,000 rushing yards for Jonathan Taylor this season. I know that Jeff is expecting some regression, but this is just year 3. If there is any time in a running back's career where they're going to continue to grow, continue to develop, and get better, it's year 3. It's year 4. This is the moment for the Colts. Right now, you got an older quarterback. You do have a proven receiver, but you don't really have a proven wide receiver core. They need to ride him. Jeff's darlings in Tennessee did the same thing. We watched them season after season basically just feed the ball to Derrick Henry, and they almost made it work. The problem was they just never quite had the quarterback play that they needed. If the Colts are wise, they use and abuse Jonathan Taylor for 2,000 yards this season, 2,000 yards next season, get everything they can, possibly ride him to a Super Bowl, get some decent quarterback play out of Matt Ryan. I think that's the game plan right there. Just feed him.
Yeah, he averaged a ridiculous 123 yards a game over the last 12 of the season. Let's go to the receiving department because Cooper Kupp, with a historic year, leading the league, was the best receiver, falling just shy of 2,000 yards. So his projected total next season, 1,300.5. How do you feel about this one, Pierce? Over or under?
I'm going to go under. I expect a lot of change, not necessarily regression, but just change. Team LA, we're going to see a lot of different development. Stafford, coming into that new team, really didn't have a lot of receivers to lean on, didn't have any running backs, and really just went with Kupp all season long. That's not really going to be the case. He's got an offseason to work with the team. They've got plenty of players. I don't believe they're going to have to constantly rely on Kupp. The best chance for them to win games is really to diversify that offense. We've got Allen Robinson coming in. He's going to take away some of the volume. We don't know. OBJ might be back. Tyler Higbee's halfway decent. And if the running backs can just be average, which they absolutely can, that's going to take away some of the volume as well. I think Kupp's going to have a great season, but for him to replicate that year from last year, I just don't think it's going to be a game plan.
All right, Jeff, how do you feel about this total?
Yeah, I mean, this one's small enough for me to go over on. I mean, some of what Pierce is saying is right. I think Allen Robinson will be a factor, and he's probably going to steal away some targets. But, Cooper Kupp almost hit 2,000 yards last year.
Yep.
I mean, his efficiency with Matthew Stafford was insane. And, that efficiency, like the downfield targeting and the catch rate of over 70% for a guy who's still maintained really good yards per reception, average depth of target, and all those things, it's just too good here. I mean, the number at 1,300 yards, he's got a lower over-under than Justin Jefferson. And I love Justin Jefferson too, but like this number for Cooper Kupp, I mean, he can regress. Like there's room for us to regress a little bit and still well hit this over. The other thing with the Rams is like they have lost some offensive line capability, and now you've got a starting running back coming off an Achilles tear. This team is not going to be good at running the ball. At least in my opinion, it's just not going to be a factor. I think you're going to see the Rams throwing the ball a lot. And if they do regress as a team, it just means that they're going to be throwing the ball more because they're going to be behind more. So I think Cooper Kupp will still get plenty of targets. I think it's really just comes down to does Stafford stay on the field or does like the offensive line implode and it takes him off the field. And then we're worried about it. But at 1,300 yards, this one is low enough that I'm going to go over it because if Cooper Kupp stays on the field for 16 or 17 games, I think it's going to be really hard for him not to go over this mark.
All right, well, apologies to last year's rookie receptions leader, Jalen Waddle. We have run out of time. Appreciate the help, guys. We got a 5 o'clock Tuesday edition of the slate coming up with Kaufman, Meiselman, and LaMarca. Lots and lots of baseball will be talked about, and then the Sweat returns here in studio. I'll be with you 11 o'clock Eastern time live. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out with us today. It was a fun show, and we'll see you all tomorrow.